like to call this regular meeting of the Raton City Commission to order. Can we have roll call, please, guys?
Sure. Mayor Sagata,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster,
Present.
Commissioner Chavez,
Present.
Commissioner Giacomo,
Present.
and Commissioner Chatterley.
Present.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next regular commission meeting will be Tuesday, July 27th, 6 p.m. here in the commission chambers. We do have one proclamation. We'll read that tonight. It's for the 4th of July events, Raton Main Street and the Balloon Rally Committee. Proclamation, Raton Main Street and the Raton Balloon Rally Committee, 4th of July events and the Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally. Whereas Raton Main Street is a community-based voluntary organization dedicated to enhancing and enriching the life of the community, as well as making Raton a desirable destination. And whereas by these efforts, Raton Main Street has organized dozens of successful events all throughout the year in Raton that are very beneficial to the community and to the city. And whereas people come from all around the state, other states, and even other countries to attend these many events. And whereas Raton Main Street has organized the 4th of July events in the city of Raton for 8 years, including fun on historic First Street and a parade. And whereas Raton Main Street and the Raton Balloon Rally Committee have organized a very successful and highly anticipated Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally for the past 7 years. And whereas Raton Main Street, the Raton Balloon Rally Committee, the pilots and the spectators were greatly disappointed to cancel the Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally last year due to COVID-19. And whereas the return of the Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally this year was not only exciting, but an even more memorable event and celebration for all. And whereas the hard work and dedication of the individuals on these boards is an esteemed asset to the community and to the city. And whereas their efforts and tireless hours of work have enriched our community and brought others to see how beautiful and fun our community is. And whereas the City of Raton would like to extend its appreciation to Raton Main Street, the Raton Balloon Rally Committee, and the 44th Army Band for their special appearance. Now therefore do I, James Neal Sagata Jr., Mayor of the City of Raton, New Mexico, on behalf of the City of Raton, do hereby thank Raton Main Street, the Raton Balloon Rally Committee, for organizing the most remarkable and memorable event. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and seal, and caused the seal of the City of Raton to be affixed this 13th day of July, 2021. Come on, let's get in here. There you go, that'll work. You can't miss Ron. All right. Thanks, guys. And Ron, thank you so much for everything you guys have done. We truly appreciate the efforts.
You're welcome. Dinner's ready. He got it.
Oh, come on. Where's ours?
Show it.
Aye.
Ay, ay, ay.
It was a great event this year.
It was fantastic. It is. Items from citizens present. Anyone wishing to address the committee or the commission at this time may do so. However, if it's something pertaining to something specifically on the agenda, let's wait till we get to that item, okay? But anyone,
I know how many whereas's you have to put in a proclamation.
you know, I've asked that myself several times, and it gets a little redundant sometimes. Yeah. 20 is the max? Okay, all right.
Right?
I think it was a random one.
Yeah, it was on that one. Anything else from items, citizens?
Easier for you to say.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to action items. 6A, deliberate and act on approval of minutes for regular meeting held on June 22nd, 2021, and the special meeting held on June 29th, 2021. Y'all have had a chance to read those?
I found nothing wrong with them. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes for the regular meeting on June 22nd and the special meeting on June 29th. Is there any further discussion?
I did have one small thing that I let Desiree know about. It was just a word was left out. And,
Okay.
item 7B of the regular meeting, so she's going to fix that.
I
Okay.
did make that correction.
All right, anything else?
She's more detailed on
All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, deliberate and act on public celebration permits for Run to Raton event 7/22 through 7/24. Left Turn Distilling, Palmer Brewery and Cider House, and I believe we also have Dragonfly, Blue Dragon in here.
Blue Dragon Butterfly, or Blue Dragonfly.
Blue Dragon Butterfly.
Blue Butterfly is
We're
also
good
there.
together, Jace. We are. We're really good together. Whereas,
Whereas,
Whereas, Mayor
Whereas.
and Commission, you have the appropriate documents for the three vendors in your packet. As you probably already know, Run to Raton is a slightly different arrangement this year, with the first night being at the Aquatic Center, and then the event shifting to First Street, and the exhibits reflect the reconfigured arrangement, and we would recommend approval of these three vendors.
alrighty. Is there any questions from the commission? Anyone from the event like to address the commission? JP?
Yeah, good evening, guys. Thank you for letting us have this event again and things like that. We really appreciate your support. We're excited again, so.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you guys doing it.
Cool.
Have you have an idea how many have
You know that,
indicated they'd be coming?
like 2 years ago, we had it subsided, so it's like, kind of looking like the same numbers, hopefully, at least about, can't really tell. I've never been able to get like a really good count on it.
Sure.
But yeah, so I guess like, we're gonna start marking them. Yeah, I'm just hoping it's the same or bigger. I think with the addition of with the car show, getting that back into it, and I think we should have some more people with that, and just more interest, more things to do again, and keep everything here in the community, like,
Yeah.
close, keep this, just keep them from riding out
Yeah.
too far.
Well, the community appreciates what you do. with this.
Absolutely brings
Oh,
people
we
to us.
appreciate it, it's so fun.
I fight with the Rodmans all the time. I catch them down there in the alley and I
Man,
give them hell. And
that's all
what
I
are you
hear.
doing in
we appreciate it. We really do.
Thank you guys so much.
Yep. Any comments or any other questions?
It's a fun event.
It is.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the permits for the Run to Raton event. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item C, public hearing, infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP, fiscal year 23 through 27. Mr. Phillips.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is the previous ICIP. This year's submittal is due on September 17th, with the anticipated approval of the final ICIP at our meeting on September 14th. We've already began the process of looking at the ICIP in-house on a department head level. Obviously, there were some things that are funded or could possibly be funded prior to the submittal of the ICIP that would require a rework of it. And the purpose of tonight is to begin our public hearing process, where we anticipate and hope for public comment from citizens on the ICIP plan.
Alrighty, thank you, Jason. Any comments or questions for Mr. Phillips? This is going to be on the agenda for the next couple of meetings, I'm sure.
Correct.
So we will have a chance to make additions at that time, get a good chance to look it over and go from there.
And for those listening, it's available on the city's website.
It is. The current ICIP is posted on the city website as well.
Cool. Alrighty, this is just a public hearing for the ICIP, and anyone wish to address us at this time on anything on the ICIP? Alright, seeing none, we will move on. Excuse me.
So you said the current one is on the website. Is this one on the website also, or is it?
This is the
one
current.
you're talking about?
This
Yes.
is,
Okay.
yes.
This is the current. Which, as he stated, may have some changes if we get funding from other sources.
All righty, any other comments? All righty. Item D, deliberate and act on dispatch agreement between the City of Raton and Colfax County. Mr. Phillips?
This is our standard dispatch agreement with Colfax County, identical to the previous agreement with no increase in fees. I've spoke with Chief Garcia about it, and we are recommending approval of this agreement between the City of Raton and Colfax County for dispatch services.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Make a motion to approve dispatch agreement between the City of Raton and Colfax County.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the dispatch agreement between the City of Raton and Colfax County. I would just mention that it's for $49,062 per year. And that's pretty much what it was last year, wasn't it? Yeah. All righty, any other further comments or questions? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, deliberate and act on amendment number 1 to Raton Trap Club lease agreement between the City of Raton and the Raton Trap Club. Mr. Phillips.
We have Mr. Piancino here this evening to represent the Raton Trap Club, Mayor. And what you'll find is a 5-year extension of a long-standing agreement between the Raton Trap Club and the City of Raton for use of their facilities. That original agreement allows for the 5-year extension, and this is a simple request to extend it under those same terms. And I'm sure Mr. Piancino could answer any questions, or if you'd like to share anything, now would be a good time.
Anything to say, Dave?
Any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay.
Do you know how many members are? The last meeting, we had 12 that attended the meeting, and then we've been picking up a little bit here, a little bit there. I think we have about 17 now, both from Raton and then other clubs also.
All righty.
It's a good program. I'll make a motion to approve the amendment number 1 to the Raton Trap Club lease agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt amendment number 1 to the Raton Trap Club lease agreement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I like these kind of meetings. Item F, deliberate and act on 2021 local fiscal recovery fund certification form. Mr. Phillips.
Mayor and Commission, these are the first certification form for some federal funding that is flowing down relating to coronavirus. And Ms. Antonucci will be sharing the details of the certification with you this evening.
Okay.
So I'll turn it over to Michael Ann, please.
All righty, Michael Ann.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. As we've discussed at a previous meeting, we were aware that this funding was coming, and you'll recall we did a budget adjustment in anticipation of receiving the funds before June 30, but that didn't happen, so it'll actually fall into this fiscal year. But we've been notified, and you'll see by the document that's in your packet, that the City of Raton will be awarded 2021 fiscal recovery funds, also referred to as FRF funding, and it's going to be $1,462,633 is our allocation, and that's just slightly higher than I think what we had previously been notified. So this is the distribution, which they refer to us as a non-entitlement unit of government, local government. And so this funding has been appropriated as a result of the coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund, also referred to as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So under the act, the definition of a non-entitlement unit is a local government that generally has a population below 50,000. And so, like I said, as you can see on this distribution form that we'll be approving this evening, this is going to be the amount of our distribution. And so the funds actually do not expire until 2026. So that gives us ample time to begin to discuss how we want to allocate these funds. And so at the next meeting, we'll probably bring back to you a memo from the city manager, maybe kind of detailing some recommendations that fall within the guidance of this program. And then we'll try to come up with kind of a separate budget or a plan just for these funds. So, but the first step would be the approval this evening of the form that we have in your packet.
All righty, any questions or comments for Michael Ann? And like Michael Ann touched on, these funds aren't just for free fall, let's have fun and spend it. There are some very specific guidelines.
Yeah,
that we
and
have
so
to follow.
the appropriation, it's actually determined by population based on the 2019 census data for each local unit of government. So I guess that's how they arrived at what
Yeah.
we were eligible to receive. So
I like
stand
I like
for
the
any
part that it
questions.
says on item number 5 on the funding criteria that we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
You know, to help invest in broadband infrastructure, and we need that bad in Raton, so.
We do, we do.
Definitely.
All right, any other comments, questions?
Move to approve 2021 local fiscal recovery fund certification form.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve the certification fund. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Michael Ann. All right, item G, deliberate and act on introduction of revisions to the zoning code of ordinances, chapter 156, related to cannabis changes mandated by House Bill 2. Mr. Phillips.
Mayor and Commission, you have a document of the proposed ordinance that we intend to introduce this evening pertaining to cannabis. It's necessitated obviously by the passage of House Bill 2. The highlights of it are, it describes generally what the 2021 New Mexico Cannabis Regulation Act provisions are. 156.121 is cannabis land use classifications. There are 3 types, one being cannabis retail, the second being cannabis cultivation facilities, and the third being cannabis-derived product manufacturing. And in those, it describes the definition of each of those classifications. And then there are what the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance are in relation to the cannabis land use classifications. Some of them are, it appears to just regurgitate what statute is in House Bill 2 or setting the limits of distances. So in 156.122, it talks about things such as 300-foot distance between a cannabis-related facility and a school or daycare center that existed prior to the licensor. In addition, there's a 300-foot buffer zone to a residential designated zone, including RHZ, R1, R4, R5, ROI, RM1, and MHS and MHP zones. And so there would be no regulated cannabis facilities within that 300-foot buffer zone. And there is a density provision of House Bill 2 that allows for spacing between facilities. So this change to the zoning ordinance sets that at 300 feet spacing between the facilities. They're also defining permissible zone classifications for cannabis-related land use, and it's limited to the following. Category A businesses, which is cannabis retail, shall be allowed in C2, General Commercial District, C3, General and Highway Servicing District, and is prohibited in other zones except for provided in this code. B is cannabis cultivation facility. That'll be allowed in heavy industrial zones and districts. And category C, the cannabis-derived product manufacturing, will be allowed in both light industrial as well as heavy industrial districts, except as prohibited in other zones, except as allowed in other zones as provided by this code. The commercial and operational limitations are also set forth in this change to the zoning ordinance. One of those is the setting of hours of operation, and this is setting the hours of operation at 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. Public smoking, vaporizing, and ingesting of cannabis products are prohibited. Public indoor and outdoor consumption areas are prohibited as well. And that is the nuts and bolts of the changes to ordinance 156, which is the City of Raton zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Phillips. And again, this is just an introduction. We are required to introduce it and then have 2 public hearings before we take action on the ordinance. And anyone is welcome to make comments at this time or at any of the public hearings going forward. But we do need to introduce this evening, so we would entertain a motion to introduce the ordinance.
So moved that we make a motion to introduce this evening?
We have a motion and a second to introduce the zoning code amendment. And I guess we'll get ordinance 156, or it's going to be a different ordinance, correct?
We typically don't issue it a number until we bring
Right.
it to you for final
Okay.
considerations.
All righty. So we have a motion and a second to introduce the amendment. Is there any further discussion, any questions this time? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Really? Item H, city manager report. Wow.
Yeah, that's why I was in charge of this one. Not a lot of meat
Oh,
on the bone. So for the city manager report, Raton hosted the district tournament for Little League All-Stars June 26th and 27th. Despite less teams playing this year because of earlier COVID restrictions, the event was well attended, went smoothly. Raton's 9 and 10-year-old All-Star team won their division, and they'll be advancing to the state level where they'll be playing later this week. Best of luck to those kids, and kudos to Whitney Fernandez, the Raton Little League board, and the volunteers for all their hard work. A lot of work to put it on. We did get a lot of compliments about our fields and facilities. Obviously, we could use some investment in the restroom type facilities at the ball fields, and we've known that. But thanks to the rain and a lot of hard work, the fields shined for this. Got a whole section on the 4th of July, but being that we proclaimed all of that, I'll just thank again Raton Mainstreet for the marvelous weekend. Raton Supercross event was held this last weekend. It was well attended and a lot of fun. I actually attended all 3 of these events. We had several youths participate in the event. The highlight for me was watching a local young man, Zach Red, win his event, and the place went nuts for him. I had never been to a Supercross event before, and I think that was kind of the vibe of most of us that were there. But Raton's good for if you have it, we'll go support it, and I'm sure it was a tremendous amount of work. They had a lot of sponsors. The track was constructed in the rodeo arena yard and was a bunch of dirt work. So hats off to the Center for Community of Innovation behind the marketing and logistics of it, the volunteers, the sponsors, and the contestants. I think it went well enough that it's possible this event returns, and if you haven't ever attended one, it's a pretty good time, and they had some great food vendors, so.
And beer.
Yeah,
And beer.
And beer. And it was great. On a more serious note, Mr. Barry and I traveled to Las Vegas, New Mexico, Tuesday, July 6th, to present 2 of the Raton projects to the New Mexico Department of Transportation. This was the next round of presentations for the Transportation Project Fund, and that's a competitive grant process where millions of dollars are at stake. The 2 projects that we are presenting on were the Frontage Road East 10th Street project, as well as the Sugar Reed Avenue Bicycle Pedestrian Lane and Pavement Rehabilitation project. We came out of the first round, which was the NERPO organization, with projects ranked 4th and 6th district-wide. The presentations went well, were well received by DOT, which have sort of a veto power over you moving forward to the next step. And I'm optimistic that at least one, if not both, of the projects will survive this vetting cycle, and we have a good chance of getting funding. One project is 1.6 million, the other 1.2. So
Cool. A
lot of dollars at stake and a lot of work going in, but I feel good about where we're at. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that is all I have this evening.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. This time, anything else from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Chatterley, Commissioner Giacomo, Commissioner Chavez.
Of course, Jason, your crew that worked on the WPA ditch there on 5th Street, they cleaned that out very nice, and that
Yeah, I
leads,
was gonna thank him afterwards for the work on 3rd Street.
They
did a good job.
that takes care of that, or helps the problem that you guys had down
Yeah.
there, so.
Yeah.
But it was, they did a hell of a job for 2 days. I saw them sweating and shoveling dirt and, so
This-
and there was nobody there pushing them, so that I liked.
No, and I would have liked to have called it out, but I thought it was self-serving to toot our own horn there with me in this spot, but, this last storm hit us hard in the sediment front, and it's taken a long time to recover, but I would like to thank my guys, because they have worked really hard, and it's not fun work. Most of what we're doing is manual right now, but we appreciate the kudos.
Kudos to them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well deserved.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
It's been a fun month, so it's good job.
It has. Just a couple of quick things with the New Mexico Municipal League. You know, we put out a application for the committee meetings, the policy meetings. It was all gonna be virtual. That got nixed when we only had 12 registrants. So it's gonna be live, in person, old format like we used to. Saturday morning, July 31st in Albuquerque. I believe it's not gonna be at the Marriott like it usually is. It's gonna be, I believe, the Sheraton Old Town, isn't it? Yeah, so should be receiving something on that, but it will be the same format as always has been. People are just ready to get out and meet again, and meet in person, and be able to discuss things and yell at each other across the table, you know? So that's what's happening, and the same thing with the annual conference will be the first week in October. We were trying to, September. We were trying to do it in Santa Fe. Santa Fe said, no, we couldn't, we don't have the workers to do it, so Albuquerque gladly took us. Now I believe it is September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I believe. But it will be live, and at first they were thinking of limiting it to the first 200 people. Albuquerque said, don't limit it, all are welcome, so. The conference will go on as it always has, and hopefully it'll be a good thing. And we're going to try and do a little ceremony for Bill and those that have retired, because we didn't get the chance to properly do that last year.
Yeah.
So that we're looking forward to acknowledging everything that he did in the league. And I believe that's all.
Does that have a deadline? Does it still have the conference? Does it have a deadline? Or did we already miss it?
Now, for the conference,
Like, yeah.
we haven't even got the memo out yet to everybody.
Okay, so there hasn't been a deadline. 'Cause I
there
thought
has not
was
been a
time where we
deadline.
had to
Yeah.
commit or not commit. Okay.
Yeah, for the conference, and Michael, did they give a deadline for the policy committee?
I think we were supposed to submit a survey stating who would
Okay,
attend, and I'm not sure that we did that, but
okay. All right,
I think that's what you're recalling, there was like a
Yeah, there's,
survey.
yeah. And I
Now, on the
didn't think it was a big deal,
committees,
but maybe.
there is still a sign-up list for the committees, and they've gone back to the old format with 4 committees.
right.
So anybody that's interested, let me know, because I'll still submit the list for that.
All righty. Well, that's all I have. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you all for coming.
Before 6, I can still watch the